Hello and welcome back to my channel, where today I'm going to be reviewing the new Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum film, The Lost City. This film was directed by Aaron and Adam Nee. The film follows Bullock as a down-in-the-muck author who, after years following her husband's passing, has not really felt impassioned both in her real life and on the page. A very rich businessman kidnaps her and forces her to find the treasure that is within the lost city, and what happens when her cover model for her books, played by Channing Tatum, comes to rescue her. The film also features Daniel Radcliffe, Brad Pitt, and Divine Joy Randolph. Now, when the film started, it dipped its toe into a conversation that I think would have been very interesting if the film actually decided to engage with it. That conversation being, what happens when you aren't proud of the work that you're doing? That you may personally see it as schlock, but other people are moved by it and they like it, and they cherish those works that others deem as, lesser. And the movie, again, it starts like, okay, this is going to be what the film is about, because you have Sandra Bullock, who's very intellectual, but she feels that she's pigeonholed into pleasing her audience. And her publisher says, the audience doesn't like when you're being the real Loretta Sage. And, the costume they have her in, that big glittery pink thing, it just seemed like the movie was maybe going to have an awareness of what it actually was discussing. But very early on, did that idea that this movie could be something more than what it was at its face value wore off, because this is a very lazy comedy. If this film only told each of their jokes once, or decided on one joke to tell in a certain situation, the movie would be like an hour shorter. The banter here just is so repetitious and derivative, not only of itself, but of other better comedies. There is a repeated gag using the Final Countdown song by Europe that is just straight out of Arrested Development and a lot of the great moments of that show with Will Arnett's Job. I mean, it is literally a direct copy of that joke. There's a scene here with leeches that you might have seen in the trailer that was done much better in 2018's Game Night with Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman trying to get at a bullet. Just too often did I feel that they were just shooting darts blindly, trying to hope that something landed without really having confidence in what they were telling. There are so many situations in the film where they just keep talking, and they feel that if they keep talking, one of the things they say will be funny enough to warrant this whole bit. But nothing really is. The jokes that land feel like outliers. They don't feel like you can credit the movie. It just feels like, it eventually had to happen that you opened your mouth so many times that something was going to warrant a laugh, eventually. These characters just aren't developed, and so when the movie then pivots to try and have scenes where it's more romantic and it's playing off the dynamic of Bullock and Tatum, you're just surprised and caught off guard that the movie actually thinks that we're at a point where these characters are well developed to have these certain scenes. SNL's sketch characters have more dimensions to them than anybody in this movie. And more often than not, you get mad at the jokes as presented, but you also feel that there are a lot of scenarios that they just skip through, that there was ripe comedic material in there. And the fact that we just skip through it is just odd. I mean, I'm happy, because the other problem with this movie is it is way too long. I mean, it felt like it was never going to end. I mean, the movie is an hour and 52 minutes, and that means it's an hour and 51 minutes too long. Bullock has such low energy throughout the whole thing, and she's very much the mom of the scenario, which the trope of having the female character have to be the one that's worrying and the one who's not having fun, it's not the best, and it really just brings that character down to her lowest. And then also Tatum, I just don't know what he's necessarily doing here, because if you're gonna give Bullock the more stern perspective, then he has to at least be having fun, because both of them just don't want to be there, and you feel that as the audience member. Take something like Finding Nemo, where Albert Brooks's Marlin is balanced with Ellen DeGeneres' fun perspective, just keep swimming type of attitude, and her optimism balances out his cynicism. Here, both of them just don't want to be on the journey, so as an audience member, you're just trudging along through this jungle as uncomfortable as they are. For a movie that focuses so much time on these ancient mythologies and artifacts, the movie itself feels ancient. It feels like this is a direct-to-TV movie that should have came out in the late 90s. And so the fact that in 2022, we're wasting this wonderful cast time, it kind of feels that you were kidnapped by Daniel Radcliffe and forced to sit through this movie, instead of it being just a fun action comedy, as it probably should be. So that's my review of The Lost City. Let me know, did you end up seeing this movie and did you like it more than I did? Thank you all so much, and I'll see you at the movies.